Hi there. My name is Jim Barnard, but you probably know me better as Coach. That's what I'm known throughout the pool world. I'm going to be showing you a demonstration on how to properly rack a set of balls to play a game of 8-ball. There's the right way, and then there's, I won't call it an illegal rack, but it's what would be not acceptable in the game of some of the amateur sports and your professional sports. There are good ways and bad ways to rack a set of 8 balls to give you and or your opponent even advantage or disadvantage. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about now. Show you how to properly rack this set of balls to play a game of 8-ball. I prefer using this, for people's knowledge, prefer using this what we call the magic rack. It's out in the pool world now. And it helps you get a nice tight rack each and every time you rack the balls. That's my preference. You can always find yours, but the key to having a great rack is having all contact with all 15 balls. Now to start out, I always like to use, on this magic rack, your head pin goes right here on the spot, and the center and the back is directly in line with that head pin. I always prefer starting with the 1 ball up there, and that's just myself and my preference. Doesn't have to be, but as I say, that's just a preference. You just want to start with a solid and a stripe on either side next to the head pin. The 8-ball will now go in the middle. You take a solid and a stripe and reverse them, and making contact, stripe with a solid, solid with a stripe. Now, some of the misinformation that's come over a period of years is people were told that you want to go solid stripe, solid stripe, solid stripe, all the way around. And no matter how you do it, you're still going to end up with 2 solids and 2 stripes making contact. The disadvantage in using that type of way of racking the balls is you'll end up with either 2 stripes or 2 solids in the back of the rack. This is the problem that makes it advantageous or disadvantageous to the breaker or the racker. It pretty well guarantees what balls are probably going to go in for that individual. So if you use the way that I have used all my life for over 49 years, it's also acceptable to rack this way and or required in some of your amateur leagues and in your professional leagues. It's always required to have 1 solid and 1 stripe on the back corners. So to do that, again, as I say, now that I put a stripe here, I now come up and put a solid going straight across. We'll put a stripe. Then I put a solid, and in this case on the 4th row, it's a stripe. Coming to the back row, I start out with a stripe, which is making contact with this solid. Then coming across, I will put a solid. Now here's where the difference is. If you notice, I now have put 2 stripes in the back, and I have 1 solid over here. You have a stripe and a solid on the back row. You also have 2 stripes touching here. You have 2 solids touching here. Left side and on the right side. This gives you a nice formation, a nice 50-50 chance of making the solid or the stripe from the break, depending on whether you shoot for a head pin break or a second ball break. This gets the scatter of the balls going, so you should have proper chance of making one or the other. And if you end up having 2 solids or 2 stripes back here, predominantly what will happen is whichever these 2 balls are, if one of them goes in, and you know what I'm talking about, you end up having shape on the other ball. And you don't have shape on the ball that went in the pocket. Not all the time, but the odds are that's what's going to happen. So let's create good odds for you as the breaker or you as the racker to have a choice, clean choice. So if you try this and use this properly, you'll never have anyone challenge you on the proper way to rack a ball. And again, by using that magic rack, you can see every ball in here is touching, and it takes just a second to properly rack them. Once the rack has been broken and you have the scatter of the balls, you'll end up with something, we'll say in this manner. All you do at that point, as long as something's not setting on, is pick that rack up and set it aside. Then you continue your game from there. If you got any questions, please let me know. You have a great day now, and good luck in your game of 8-ball or whatever your game of choice is.